Hi, welcome everyone to the Fostering Network's webinar today. I'm just going to wait for everyone to get into the room. We're just letting people in at the moment, so make yourselves comfortable. Hopefully you've got a cup of tea to hand. See, we're up to over 60, so we'll just keep letting people in and then we'll start. Okay, I think, Eve, if you could give me a nod, are we okay to start now? Is everyone in the room?
Yes, yeah, you can start.
Okay, perfect. Welcome everyone to today's webinar. This webinar takes place during our nationwide Tick the Box campaign, which started yesterday. And the Tick the Box campaign encourages young people with care experience to tick the box on their Ucas application. So universities and further education colleges know that they are entitled to support. It also importantly raises awareness and aspirations for people with care experience who we know are underrepresented in higher and further education, signalling the possibilities open to them. During this week, we'll be sharing exciting content on social media, so please follow this on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. This webinar today is a really practical webinar. We've got a great range of speakers to talk to us today. It's a chance to learn more about the support available for people with care experience at university and higher education, and a chance to ask some questions at the end. As you may know, Ucas applications for most courses close in January, so this is a really well-timed webinar. So we're going to get lots of information about the process today, and I'm sure Nicola from Ucas will talk more about this. The event will consist of 10-minute presentations from each panelist, and then at the end we'll have 15 to 20 minutes to try and get through as many of your questions as possible. It's our first time hosting a webinar on Tick the Box, and we're really grateful to have all the speakers here with us today. And we're also really grateful for you all attending this morning. Before we start with our first speaker, I'll just do a bit of housekeeping. This webinar is being recorded and the chat box is disabled. So if when you think of questions as people are talking, if you could put those questions in the Q&A box, which you'll just find at the bottom of your screen. We'll try to get to as many questions as possible, but we will be sending around the slides and the recording to all attendees afterwards. And finally, our safeguarding lead for the events is Louise Horn, and we will put her email in the chat box. So any safeguarding issues, please email her at louise.horn@fostering.net, which is now in the chat box. So without further ado, I will hand over to Nicola Turner, who's our first speaker today. And Nicola is the Fair Access Advisor at Ucas, Universities and Colleges Admissions Service. And Nicola and Ucas are long-term supporters of the Tick the Box campaign. So thank you so much, Nicola.
Hi there, sorry about that. You'd think by now that we'd all be really used to being able to take ourselves off mute, but it seems that I still haven't learned everything. Kate, can you see my screen?
I can, yes.
Perfect.
You see your screen.
Great, everything's going well. It looked different to how I did earlier. Great, okay, well, hi everybody. It's really good to be here, not least because obviously Ucas provides the box that we're asking students to tick when they start making their application to university. So I think it's really important that we tell you a little bit about why we ask that question and what it is that we do with that information. So my name's Nicola Turner. I'm Senior Fair Access Advisor at Ucas, and my job is very much about understanding how we can help students from all sorts of different backgrounds and with all sorts of different circumstances to go to university and have a fair and equitable chance of success to get there and to succeed while they're there. So one of the things that I wanted to start with is just to think a little bit about getting started with your decisions and what UCAS can do to help you with that. And the first thing to say is there's lots of information on the UCAS website about how to make a decision about whether to go to university at all. For example, there's information about apprenticeships, about gap years, etc., and about going into employment. And also information to help you if you're specifically if you are care experienced. What's really useful, and my biggest recommendation here, is to go and sign up for the Ucas Hub. That's something that organises all of that information and sends it to you at the right time and organises it in a way that will make it much easier for you as you make your application. You don't have to be ready to make your application, and you don't have to even make an application if you decide later on you don't want to. But it's a really good way of just bringing together all the information, shortlisting your courses, getting some key dates and deadlines, making your personal statement, pulling together your own to-do list, and eventually that all brings together your application and your profile and allows you to apply. So that's all in one place. And as I say, that doesn't have to lead to an application. That could just be about your research. So that's really my top tip for this page. There's a few of them to come. Is to really go in and start making your Hub account as early as possible. And as you can see there on the left, I know it's a little bit small, but you can see that there is our page for care experienced students. Now, as I mentioned, you know, the Hub is a really good way of sharing information with you at the right time and personalised to your experiences. It's not always easy to find stuff on the UCAS website because it's absolutely massive. So I've just given you an idea about how to Google and get that information there as well. And I know that you'll have opportunity to look at the slides afterwards. So certainly the links will be on there. But I really want to encourage every student to do their research before they make their application. So, I mean, that sounds logical that you'd go and research your course and your university, but lots of people don't research how they will be supported at university and the support for all sorts of different circumstances, including care experience. And I know lots of people will be talking to you about what that support might look like later on. So the UCAS care experience question in the application is about letting the universities know that you want that support. And there's lots of ways of finding out what university offers what support, and they are different. So that's why we ask you to do your research. The Propel website is a brilliant place to start. That tells you what's available at each university. And there's also a guide from an organisation called Foster Talk, which also goes through some of the support available at different universities as well. And if you're still not sure and you really want to make sure that they're going to be able to support you in the best way possible, contact the university. They are absolutely used to having students call them and talk to them, and they really welcome people asking them about how they can be supported. And the best people to speak to is the Student Support Services team. And you can usually get their information on the website, and they usually have their own page on there. And if you're supporting someone with their application, you're not a student yourself necessarily, we have a toolkit to help with that. And again, I've given you the Google, the route, and also a direct link there as well. So there is a page for lots and lots of different circumstances, but one, as you can see in the centre in blue, is for care experienced students. And again, really practical information at each different stage of the application to help a student through that. So the important thing really is once you've got your application is what happens next. Well, when you start to build your profile, there are lots of different sections, and the question itself sits here within the diversity and inclusion section. And there are several questions in there. I'll show you what that looks like in a moment, but you won't see that section until you complete the contact and residency details. And the reason is, this section is only shown to students in the UK. So if you're an international student, that section won't show to you. So unless you finish that, you won't see the diversity and inclusion. So once you actually do tick or go into the diversity and inclusion, there are a number of questions. Some are mandatory, some are optional. The care support question is optional, and it just asks if you've been in care. And just to make that a little bit bigger for you. It asks if you've been in public care, gives you some idea about what it means. We know students are sometimes a bit confused about whether their experience counts, and I'll talk about that in a second. But you have the opportunity to say yes or no, or not to answer at all. If you answer yes, then you will also then be given the option to explain how long you've been in care as well. And don't worry if you don't know exactly. This is just an idea, because the whole point of the question is not to establish anything about your care experience or to verify whether you have been in care or whether you count. It's about letting the university know that you are care experienced and that they can start having a conversation with you about the support that they can offer to you. If you want to use the personal statement while we're thinking about the application, you can absolutely use that to talk about your circumstances, only if you want to. And I would also say only if that's relevant as well. If you want to talk about characteristics or skills that you've developed or things you've overcome, you may be very proud of that and you may want to talk about that in your personal statement, in which case that's fantastic. What I would say is, if you don't want to include that in there, but you do know that perhaps you've changed schools, or perhaps you've had disruption during your exam period, your reference is a good place to talk about that, is maybe ask your referee to cover that for you if that's appropriate. There's a link to FAQs from the questions, so you can go and find out a little bit more about what happens to your data, what sort of things count, what sort of things we might mean by different types of care experience as well. And would always say, again, if you're not sure, tick the box and start the conversation with the university. They will help you decide. And also you can, as I say again, contact student services at the university. Again, they'd be happy to talk that through with you. And also, it's not just about care experience. We know some people may have other circumstances that they would find useful to have support with, such as mental health, a disability or learning difference, caring or parenting responsibilities of their own, or if you were a refugee or asylum seeker. And there's some other things in there that you can tell us about as well. And again, the support for different circumstances that can really help you have an equal and fair chance of getting to university. So lots of people ask, what happens next? Once you've sent your application, well, if you're applying from school, then your application usually goes to your Ucas advisor, and they will fill the reference in, and then they will send that to Ucas on your behalf. But if you're an independent student or a mature student, that probably won't be the case for you. Ucas then send your application over to the universities, and the admission staff will take a look at that, and they will make you an offer or not make you an offer. But that will absolutely be dependent on your achievements and your potential. So that's usually based on your grades or your predicted grades. So in some cases, that's about your experience and also your personal statement and references as well. It is not based on whether you have care experience or not. However, they may make you an offer that is lower than usual because they're taking that into account. So it won't affect whether you get an offer, but it might, in some universities, affect the offer that they make you. So if you get an offer and that is accepted, they may contact you with more information or drop you a line to ask if you want to come and speak to them, for example, maybe to attend events or to speak to the central contact at the university. And I know we have some of those in the presentations today, and just to make sure you have what you need to start your studies. So just a few questions that students have. Some are worried they won't get an offer. As I've said, absolutely, this will not be about making you an offer. It will actually, if anything, have a positive impact. And if you're in Scotland, there is something called the guaranteed offer. You won't be treated differently. You are in control. Only the people you want to know about care experience will know about it. It is confidential information. And the whole point is it's about giving you a fair chance. And you don't have to talk to people about your care experience if you don't want to. People are absolutely sensitive to your circumstances. People are used to speaking to care experienced students and know that not everybody wants to talk about their situation. And lots of different types of people go to university, so you don't have to worry about whether you're going to fit in. So this year we had almost 9,000 applicants who shared a care background. So you're absolutely not alone in that circumstance either. Universities, again, as I say, do your research, but there's lots of networks, lots of support groups, and some offer mentors to help you get settled in and to meet together just to have a social experience in some cases. And there may also be study support if you're worried about any academic issue or any impact in previous years that you think maybe you need some further skills. And then finally, if you do have any questions about making your application, do get in touch with Ucas. We've got the number just here, but our socials are a really good place to get in touch. And you can see some of our friendly colleagues here who are absolutely really willing to talk to you and will offer you the help that you need. And I'm just trying to not share my screen.
Well, while you do that, let me thank you, Nicola. That was a really informative presentation, and thanks for walking us through the application process. The Ucas Hub has got a wealth of information. It has moved on since my day of using the application process, so that's great. Thank you. We're going to now pass to Charmaine, who is from Charmaine is the Funding Information Services Account Manager at the Student Loans Company. So Charmaine is going to talk to us now about the finance and funding side. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Eve, I'm sorry, I can't seem to share my screen. It's not showing the, if you're able to put the, thank you very much. I apologise straight away. I've got a bit of a cold, so I sound a bit croaky. I don't know if you want to press, that's great. I was saying, my name's Charmaine Valenti and I work for the Student Loans Company. I'm one of the Funding Information Partner Account Managers, and I'm just going to talk a little bit about the Student Loans Company in the second slide, please. So the Student Loans Company, people aren't aware really that the Student Loans Company, you might have heard the word Quango. It means basically that it's owned by 4 governments, England, Ireland, Scotland and Wales. And in each domicile, we do something different. I'll be mainly talking about student finance when I'm England at the present moment, as you can see, SFE on the right hand side, but the application processes for each of the domiciles runs in a very similar way. If you've got any questions about the other domiciles, I'll be happy to try and look at answering them in the panelist questions if you'd like. Next slide, please. So I'm going to talk you through the student finance application journey. Next slide, please. It really starts, as Nicola said, with the Ucas applications, and that happens at schools. Schools are involved with Ucas and they help with the application process with Ucas, putting through all their details, all that information. Now, how we work with Ucas is that we actually inform them when we're launching. We've supported them with the pages of information that Nicola was talking about. So things like if you've got students who are care leavers or are being fostered and you're not sure, please do use those pages because we've supported the finance application on those sides. And the actual tick box that you see that Nicola went through is, I've just shown it on this particular slide. It doesn't come through to Student Finance England or to any of the Student Finance Wales, Northern Ireland or SAS. Basically, it will go directly to the university to a named contact who will then contact your student to be able to support them through their university journey, basically. Next slide, please. We, as Student Finance England and Student Finance Wales, Northern Ireland, are all basically dependent on the government providing us in that domicile with information and giving us the resources to be able to follow up on their rules and regulations, and those only go through at certain times of the year. So I've really put there, Student Finance England launches usually around February. Student Finance Wales this year launched in March. So it's always around about that time that we're looking to launch, or a bit earlier. Now, students, I would like to tell you that you don't need to have a confirmed place. They won't know where they're going at this time when we launch. And basically we've launched after Ucas is launched. But as soon as we launch, we work with Ucas, and Ucas actually inform all your students that we have launched and to apply as soon as possible. And they tell them where to go to be able to apply. Now for Student Finance England, it is the Gov.uk site, whereas with Student Finance Wales and Northern Ireland, we have our own sites on there. They can go to Student Finance Wales and Student Finance Northern Ireland. Now, all the applications, basically, when they start, the students will need to be able to apply. And as I said, they just need to put down their first choice of university to be able to apply. They will need information at that time, which I'll go through in the next slide. But if they've got a disability and they tick, yes, I have a disability, another application will open up and said, once you've completed your student finance application, complete the student finance disability application. And there will be one if students have got children, they can apply for childcare grants. Now, disability grants, adult dependent grants and parents learning allowance and childcare grants, they are all grants that students are entitled to apply for if they're eligible, and they don't need to pay these back. Whereas the tuition fee and maintenance, which is what the student's applying for to be able to fund their way through university, that is a loan and that will need to be repaid. Now, students' applications, if they're easy, take approximately 6 weeks to be able to go through, and if they've supplied all their information at the same time. Now, we have a deadline date, and normally for first-time students, it's in May. And if students have submitted all their application with their information, then they should be able to receive all their funding on time when they register and they are at university. You might have continuing students who've already started before. They do need to apply year on year for student finance. Now, this basically is the university should be telling them that they need to apply, but also I've been working with PAs and social workers to be able to do that, to say students should apply. And again, they will receive their maintenance in the September. Now, bear in mind that universities and colleges work with schools to be able to provide this information, to disseminate it, and they support them through the application process. And as you heard, named contact earlier on when Nicola was talking, that person might be able to help them through the application process. And Nicola also mentioned student finance advisors. Those student financial advisors are well versed to be able to support students through this application process. But schools don't tend to do this. Some schools are very, very involved, but majority tend to have hands off, and they look at universities to support them through providing this information to students to be able to go on to university. Next slide, please. This criteria basically is a different criteria to the one Ucas uses for students being supported with finance from Student Finance England to be deemed as a care leaver. They've got to meet this particular criteria, which is a 3-month period ending on or after the date the student has reached the age of 16 and before the date of the first academic year of the start of the course. But also the student must not have gone back into the care, legal care of their parents. Next slide, please. For any personal advisors and social workers, I've been working with you. You might have missed this, but if students have gone back to their parents but are still in your care over the age of 16, then this particular template should be used to be able to give to the student when they're applying for student finance, and they can put their customer reference number down, and then that can go through and be submitted and uploaded at the same time as their application, and it will then go through to our independent team to be able to provide student finance as a care leaver. Next slide, please. Now, students do need to be prepared for what they're going to actually, when they start applying, they'll need things like if they've got their passports, they've got to be in date, because once they put the passport number in there, they don't need to send these to us. If they put the passport number in there and it's out of date, it will not be accepted. So if it's in date, then we'll accept it. Otherwise, we will look to have their birth certificate sent through to us. EU citizens will need to have a share code sent to us, and non-UK passport holders will need to be able to provide us with more information and deliver their non-UK passports to us. They can apply without the national insurance and bank details, but we do need those to be able to pay the students. And disability, they do need to upload their disability evidence at the same time as their application. Next slide, please. Thank you. Well, I told you about tuition fees and maintenance. Basically, we pay the tuition fees directly to the universities. And all students should check the university websites to make sure what university they're going to, because some private universities will charge different fees, and we will give, let's say for a normal state university, up to £9,250. If you could click twice, please, Eve, then it will come up with 2 more. So the university, we pay them directly 25% in term 1 and term 2, and pay 50% in term 3. What we pay to the student is the maintenance, and that will depend on where they live and study. So if they're generally within the M25, we will give them the London rate. If they're outside the M25, we will give them the elsewhere rate. Now, those are the maximums a care leaver would be able to receive from us. But if they're doing NHS courses, or courses that cover over 30 weeks and 3 days, we will also be able to provide some more funding. Next slide, please. Now, the student in England would go, as I said, to the Gov.uk site. Unlike Student Finance Wales and Northern Ireland, we only have the one site that we have to use as the Gov.uk site. Students should need piece of paper and a pen because they need to write down their passwords, because this will be specifically password protected. So they will need to write down some of the secret passwords they have. But once they've gone through the application, they can complete it generally within 20 minutes. And I said, they don't need a confirmed place. They just need to put down their first choice of course and university that they want to go to. That can be changed further down the line quite easily. Next slide, please. Students don't need to ring us. There's a new system that we've created this year, and it's the customer self-service enhancements. So basically what it means, if I give you an idea, is like when you've ordered a Uber, and you can see where the delivery is, you can actually watch where it's going. And this is going to be built upon within our systems, so the student can see where their application is actually at. If I show you the next slide, it'll show you some of the details that you can find. So it's interactive and it's telling them where they're awaiting confirmation. If we've not received their information or we need further updates, it'll say you need to provide us with further evidence, and then they can go to the evidence section and they can see what they need to do and how they can upload that. It'll tell them how we're going to get paid and how we're paying them. Now, basically, students, once they've actually registered and are attending the university, they won't receive the money on the first day. They'll receive it within 3 working days. So students do need to start university with some money in hand. Next slide, please. That's it. It was a very short and sweet, and if you've got questions, I'll be delighted to answer you. Thank you very much.
Charmaine, thank you so much for that. And we'll take questions at the end, but as we're going along, so we're moving quite fast with lots of information, if you just pop your questions while you think of them into the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. That was really useful in walking us through those timelines and the eligibility criteria as well. So thanks so much for that. So we've heard about the application process, we've heard about the student finance application process, and now we're going to hear direct from a university. So we've got Lena Smith here, and she is the transitions officer at Cardiff University. So welcome, I'll hand over to you now, Lena.
Thank you very much. Hi, everybody. So as explained, so this is my lovely PowerPoint presentation. So yeah, as explained, I am from Cardiff University. So my role is a transition officer, and I want to talk a bit about that and what that means, because you've heard a lot of the words about dedicated contact, and I am that for Cardiff University. So that means then, sorry, can you see the next slide? I just want to check that's happened. It's not come from my screen. There you go. So as a transition officer, I am the dedicated contact for care experience, estranged students, carers, military experience, and asylum seeking students at Cardiff University. Now you might think, why do you support all those different groups and stuff like this? The reason for that is there is no box. There is, of where people sit, if that makes sense, because you could be care experienced but still have caring responsibilities. You could be an asylum seeker, you could you know, you still fit into kind of what estrangement means, but you're a care experience. There's elements that also have shaped your life, where therefore, you know, people have gone into the army or people have had asylum seeker status, like I just explained. So the reason for that is my knowledge is aware of all these different sections to make sure that I can give you the best experience possible when it comes to university, and understand those barriers that you may face. So with all that, I'm the dedicated contact. And specialising that for care experience students is making sure that we have a care leaver bursary. This is additional support on top of what you're receiving already. So majority of universities look at doing this now to offer that extra support. This means that we don't want you ended up working like 30-hour weeks or anything like that. We want you to be able to make sure you can maintain the support that you've got going to university and stuff like this, and these bursaries help that. We offer that at undergraduate and postgraduate level. Let's be honest, we don't stop being care experience as we go through our journey in education. We continue that support, okay? We offer prospective student support. So when Nicola was talking about then regarding getting in touch with universities soon, do it, because we're here to answer all the questions that you have, and also to reduce that anxiety you have as well, because it's a big decision. And not just that, if you're moving further away, it also is that anxiety of, you know, moving away from the community that you're part of as well, or the being able to go and you know, pop in and see your personal advisor or anything like that. This is about moving away from a bit of a distance, can cause a bit of anxiety. So come and speak to us, let us know, and prepare you for what that next step of the journey looks like, okay? We have dedicated, I'm also available on open days, and you'll find that with other dedicated contacts as well, to be able to answer those questions that you have, and obviously for after that as well. Obviously, we have halls for our first year here at Cardiff University, but we also offer accommodation out of term time, which means then you've got, you know, you haven't got to worry about where you're going to stay. And if you want to stay, in our case, in the Cardiff area out of term time, then we've got the accommodation there. We also offer it after graduation up to the September of that year, to give you that chance of, after you graduate, why? You know, let's have 2 months to think about what I want to do next, and we give that opportunity as well. We offer a guarantor scheme for students after their first year, if they're looking at private accommodation. We don't want you to face a barrier that you don't have the guarantor, so we make sure we've got a guarantor scheme to support this. We support with well-being, disability, all the different sector, whatever you can think of when it comes to university, we're here to help. We're here to signpost. We always say there's no such thing as a silly question. The silly thing is you didn't ask it, and we can get you that support. I believe kind of support at university is a bit like a triangle. The more you let people know at the beginning, the bigger your options are, and the more we can direct. The longer you leave it, it restricts us a bit, but we just want to be able to help and give that advice guidance. For a lot of the students I support, which is quite a lot, and it could be the fact of, Lena, I'm just interested in the bursary. I don't need any of the support at the moment, but I'll be in touch with you if anything happens. And some people need weekly support. It's different for everybody, but that's the great thing about it, is you're individuals, your students looking to come to university, and a dedicated contact can give you just the information and guidance you need to make that journey a little bit easier for you, okay? We're not going to stick a label on you that says care leaver and you walk around now and everybody knows your circumstances. Your information about you being a care leaver comes to us, and then after that it's up to you who gets shared within the university, okay? So please keep that in mind when you're thinking about ticking that box, because other universities like ourselves, we have another box in enrolment as well. So if you forget to tick the box at Ucas, and then later on you want to still actually now disclose because you feel more comfortable, maybe you've met the dedicated contact and you feel a bit more supportive about that, then do so. What I want to say is that tick box is great because it's early intervention, okay? But just because you haven't ticked it, don't think that that's the end of the support, okay? That support can be throughout the year. I have sometimes students that, you know, tick the box in second year and then go, I don't know why I didn't do this sooner, okay? It's about that information and guidance. All we're doing is put the information out there for you to make the best decision for yourself, because we have study abroad opportunities, we have tailored work experience that's given through Go Wales project that's based in Wales, and that gives you extra financial support to build your CV up to where you want it to be. So there's loads of fantastic things to go through on that. So with all that dedicated support, it's like, blimey, how does this all go through? And what we find in Wales is there's a lot of that support out there, okay? And what we also want to talk about is, how do we understand that this support is needed and what is available out there? We also link very closely with the governments, and we also wanted something to dedicate that actually there's a basic income pilot for care leavers now in Wales, okay? What is the basic income pilot? The pilot helps the government to find out what young people leaving care need. So at the point of like, is it financial support, what it is. So this pilot has been set up, and as a basic care leavers will receive £1,280 per month to spend on food, clothing and other things that they need. And they'll keep getting this money for 2 years after their 18th birthday, okay? I know already people are thinking, oh, what does this mean? Is this available everywhere, kind of thing? This is mainly only a project in Wales at the moment, okay? So, and also you have to be leaving care and then turn 18 between the 1st of July 2022 and 30th of June 2023. The reason why I wanted to highlight this, because it is a big thing that's happening in Wales at the moment, and I'm seeing a lot of students that are applying through now and next year regarding the support that they're getting from the scheme. With the sharing the slides after, I'll put more extra links. I didn't want to overcrowd my PowerPoint as I was doing that, so you can understand that. But majority of the people that are being supported by the scheme, your social worker or young personal advisor, whoever is supporting you from the local authority, should be giving you information about this, okay? But always ask the question, is this relevant to me? Because as we were talking, as Charmaine was talking there about student finance, there's also a lot of other additional support that many people are not aware of. And you know, universities will also have scholarships on top of scholarships. So it could be based on your grades, it could be based on where you live, all these different things. So it's definitely worth looking into that. Also, don't forget about the extra support that can come from your local authority as well. Higher education bursary is a bursary that's in all people in the care system should be able to get. It's normally about £2,000, and that will cover you, and that normally is paid over the duration of your course, okay? So we always ask about this. Big tip, when it comes to the leaving care grant, ask for this as you leave university. Don't get that at the beginning, because what you want is to be able to feel that when you do leave university, you've got this kind of set up pot to be how to, when the support starts to withdraw, you want to be able to have that support pot where you can actually move on after that. So it's about planning that journey, and that's what I'm here for. I go through that whole process, that all the way up to graduation, okay? So that's why it's really important. And the basic income pilot, sorry, I kind of drifted off there. The basic income pilot is an additional support for Wales, and I wanted students to just be aware of that. If you are listening and you are from Wales, this is a pilot that's coming through, but definitely speak to your young person's advisor or social worker for more information, okay? So I am the chair of Class Cymru, which is the Care Leaver Activity and Student Support for Wales Network, okay? So literally, this is where we bring everyone together, like the Fostering Network, the Rees Foundation, Voices from Care Cymru. So everybody that's involved in the process of, so recently had Nicola Turner talking about the new Explain, Charmaine comes and talks about SLC. It's about making sure that the people that really need to be able to make the decisions, change it for the better, are all in one room where we can talk about it. And we're not just learning about finances though, we're looking about the well-being, how we can represent and support our students better as well. And the one thing that was come from that, we did some big research in Wales regarding the support that our care experience people in students in Wales needed. And this was before or after they come to university, is what was it that was more needed for understanding that transition to higher education? And for a lot of them, they said it was information and guidance. Now, we understand there's a lot of that around in the UK, but to make it Wales centric, because we do have a lot of different things here. Our student finance is a bit different from what Charmaine just explained there. You know, we have a grant system that's also in our living cost support as well. But on the main basis, so we, on the 26th of October, will be launching our Class Cymru website, okay? This will be the first bilingual resource, okay? So this will have all information regarding the journey of starting education in higher education, traveling all the way up to graduation. This is going to be a great resource for our students in Wales looking to study throughout the UK. It won't change any different things. We will still be referring to places like Propel and all these things that are useful resources, but just having it in a one-stop place for students that are living in Wales, okay? This has been made by All Care Experience helping us to create this website. We've also had a massive support from Cascade. Now, Cascade is based in Cardiff University. They do lots of research into care experience, young people and their experiences throughout education. And their research has stemmed this website, and that's how we're going to continue on from it. We find it's really important, the best information and guidance. So we hope actually that this will be promoted on the Ucas website under Student Finance Wales, loads of different places, and we hope actually for yourselves, it'd be a great place to make sure, oh, right, I have a student that's coming from Wales. This is a great indication of all the support that's available to him, because it's not, so we want to make sure you're getting the best experience out of it all, okay? And that's the reason why we support ventures like Tick the Box campaign, because information and guidance at the right time can be so powerful. And to really get that at the best time for you, it's that tick the box. It's so important. And practitioners and social workers and everybody else, you know, it's a lot of information to keep in while you're trying to do all your other jobs at the same time. So make sure that you are ready with these resources that can just pinpoint and help out with that information that's needed. That is mainly the main area of the thing. I just wanted to kind of update and highlight some of those aspects in Wales. My contact details are on there, but this will be shared after. But thank you very much for your time and listening.
Wow, Lena, thank you so much. That was amazing. There's a lot of information there. And just to reiterate, we will be sharing all of that after this and all the links that Lena shared. And I think it's so important you can start that conversation at the open days, and that support is there tailored all the way through to graduation and beyond. So that's great. Thank you. So we're moving from Wales over to Northern Ireland now, and our next speaker is Paul Cassidy, who's the Community Outreach Officer at Ulster University, and he has a long and founding history with Tick the Box campaign. Thank you, Paul.
Hi, I'm just trying to figure out how to get my video on. There we are, can we see? There we go. How is everybody? Hope everyone well. Now, my name is Paul Cassidy, and I am the Community Engagement. I need to start sharing this, sorry. Give me 1 second.
If you go to the home button, Paul, and then you can press.
Oh, there we are.
Begin,
I'm trying to get
yeah.
rid of the thing at the top.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, and then, oh no, sorry, slideshow.
I'm trying to see this, but sorry. Give me 1 second. I'll share again.
It's okay, I think. It's great. So it's just the slideshow button at the top there, Paul, and then from
It's in behind this.
Oh, just in the middle at the top.
I have the problem is in my screen I have, hold on if I can pause share. Yep.
And we can just move through it like as it is. I don't know, I can't see it.
I'm so used to Teams, I'm not used to Zoom. So let me see.
If you press F5, that might work.
F5. What else there now?
So we can see the presentation. It's just not showing in. Oh, there we go. Perfect.
Right. There we go. F5 here. Whoever came up with that, thank you very much. So my role is community engagement. I've been in Ulster University from 2004, and previously I've been supporting communities in terms of welfare advice and tribunal representation. And since 2009, I have been working with being the dedicated named contact for our young people in Northern Ireland. So I wanted to do something quite different today, rather than talk about the actual support that we offer at Ulster, because Lena has gone through the stuff that is quite similar to ours. And what I wanted to do in terms of getting everything up and running and working in Northern Ireland and getting to our current numbers of 93 care experienced students, we really had to do so by raising aspirations for young people, and it had to be done through partnerships, engagement and outreach. And critically, it's Foster Network have been fantastic with it. You know what I mean? One of the first partnerships that we've got. So, but I want to show the regional outlook we have here, the Northern Ireland. So we have 4 campuses, and at the top there would be Coleraine, the left is Derry, Londonderry, our McGee campus, and we've got Jordanstown and Belfast campuses there. Okay, so we have a regional remit in Northern Ireland as part of our thing. So we work with local authorities. Here we call them health and social care trusts. And we have 5, just to put on the context of what, in terms of the regional reach and how it goes. So that's the 5 trusts. Now, working in partnership with, in Northern Ireland, we need to identify who our partners are. If we want to make a success of things, we want to get our young people through education and through further education as well. We need to be engaged with everybody. So all the health and social care trusts there that I showed you in the previous slide, we work with all those. All further education providers in Northern Ireland, we have 6 of those. And again, they're based regionally, just like the 5 trusts there. Our career service in Northern Ireland, we work closely with them because in linking with schools, etc., our young people need to have ambition, and our career service need to know the challenges facing them. Plus, they need to know how we at higher and further education can support our young people moving forward. The Department of Education, government-wise, we need to be tying in with those people, and the Department of Employment. Again, our first stop when we were doing this in 2009 was with Tick the Box. I was in contact with Emma McAleer, and we originally came up with the idea of having some sort of summer residential. And in further discussions then, we were talking about this Tick the Box initiative and with Kathleen, and we then went forward and worked towards making this a campaign in around 2011, 2012. We've all our charities we work with include Youth, Student Finance NI, as the previous speaker was talking about. We need to be engaging with our finance options. And as a name contact, my previous experience between 2009 or 2004 and 2009 at Ulster University was being the financial advisor for our students. The other charity we work with in Northern Ireland is VOIPIC, Voice of Young People in Care. And like Lena's class Cymru, I hope I've pronounced that right, we have a regional multi-agency group on attainment and progression there, and that all these partners come together and work towards the goal of making education and employment easily accessible. So our engagement is, again, firstly, we tick the box. Again, as I said before, in 2012, we partnered with Forstland Network, and we, as the whole event today is geared towards that, we're committed to ensuring that our widening access and participation plan supports those most in need. It was also aimed at foster carers and social work practitioners in order to support young people to go back to university or go to university. And it enables those in the trusts to meet with the relevant higher education staff and enable them to understand the funding and support processes for our young people. Now, in terms of that group that we have that meet quarterly each year, again, it's the same set of people, the same individuals, so everybody is joined up. Our thinking and approach is all the same. What we have done, we created this pathways to further and higher education for looked after and care experienced young people. I could be here all day talking about it. I've created a link here. If anybody wants me to share that later on, I will. I don't think with the way my technology is going this morning, I'm not going to be taking myself off this page. So that will take you into that. If it does click it, I would explain and then show the partnerships and the engagement that we have worked towards. And I'll share that at a later date if anybody wants it. So current students, we look at our potential students. This is a financial support offered at Ulster. We have a widening access bursary, care experienced student bursary of £1,000 each year paid prior to Christmas. So that can enable our young people to get beyond Christmas and take them to when their student loans or stuff come in January. We have fee waivers for some flexible learning. We have a technology fund, which we give laptops to all our students who apply, and we have accommodation vouchers if needed. And we also have externally funded scholarships by the Belfast Harbour Commission, who provided us with £15,000 for the next 3 years. We have 15 students who have availed of that as well. This society is a students' union society. It's called Closer. Care leavers offering support for each other. In terms of our numbers, as I said, we have 93 students. This was set up by themselves. It's facilitated by the Students' Union. There is a committee membership, so our students take active roles in chairing, taking leadership, always good for the CV and stuff like that. And they bring in guest speakers to talk. And they also, and most importantly, offer peer support for each other. So it's a very good mentoring sort of service run by the students. Currently, I'm looking for a new committee, so it'll restart very shortly this academic year. In terms of outreach, this is one of our most successful projects. It's called My Laces, Mentoring Young Looked After Children with Educational Support. This was shortlisted for the Times Higher Award. We didn't win, but it basically is a 6-way benefit for young people, schools, our social work students, the social work teams that the young people come from, and the guardians and the university. So essentially, we were bringing our social work students every Wednesday, matching them with primary 5, 6, and 7, which are aged 8, 9, and 10 here. And there's a transition then period for where they move from our primary school to our secondary school. So the aim was to give our social work students the experience of working with these young people. Also, we're bringing the kids into university for the kids to see the environment, but also have some form of homework club, get mentored by our students. Our PhD students will come in and give them lots of activities, just science activities and things like that. So the young people really benefited from it. Now, it was a high risk engagement process, outreach process, because the transport of the young people, it was quite difficult to get them on. It would require a lot more funding to do it in terms of money buses and things like that, but it was quite successful. And unfortunately, due to COVID restriction, getting young people onto the campus, it is stopped for this thing, but we're aiming to get it back up and running with the Western Trust in January. We're getting the young people back on campus, and this goes on for a 3-year period.
Sorry to interrupt, Paul, but we're going to have to, I don't know if you're near the end, but we're going to have to.
Yeah, I'm at the last bit there.
Perfect.
Sorry. And we have residentials here that we run with Foster Network, very successful. We've had numbers of students coming through to university from them, and that's the type of benefits of the residentials. Again, I'll share these slides later on, but that's our success here. With 3 care experience students in 2008, with 93 now, and the total of graduates is 209 up until 2021.
The impressive figures to end on there. Thank you so much, Paul, and we'll make sure that Pathways guide is shared when we share your presentation, so everyone has access to that.
Apologies for the start.
No, that's fine. Thanks so much. That's great. We're going to move on to Sian Edwards now, who's the Communications Officer at the National Network for the Education of Care Leavers. So over to you, Sian.
Hi there. Thank you very much, Kate. It's lovely to hear from everyone there. I'm just trying to share my screen. My computer's having an absolute funny 10 minutes this morning. Can you see my screen, guys?
You can. If you just click on from the beginning, we can see it all.
Okay, it's just taking a minute. Right. Okay, so my name's Sian. I work for the National Network for the Education of Care Leavers. Just to give you a little bit of a background about us, we started as a volunteer network So it was lots of people working in higher education institutions who had a vested interest in ensuring that there was access and progression for care experienced young people. And the network grew and grew and grew, and we had some funding from a national collaborative outreach project, which was hosted at the University of Winchester. We've commissioned some research from Neil Harrison, who is one of our lovely trustees, which is the Moving On report. And it was one of the first studies to provide a bit more of a rounded picture of care experienced young people in higher education. And many universities and institutions and colleges use this research to form and to inform part of their access and participation plans and some of the work that they do to support their young people. The NNECL moved on to become a charity in late 2018. And we were lucky to secure some funding from Esme Furban for our startup costs, and also from the UPP Foundation to develop a new quality mark, which I'll talk a little bit more about slightly further on. So we have 2 of us that work in the team and a wonderful network of volunteers which form our board of trustees, our national strategy group, and a network of regional groups. And we also now have up to 90, just over 90 members as part of our organisation, but that is growing as we speak. So what NNECL does is we work with professionals who support young people in order to ensure that there's information and guidance about practice in order to support these young people to make informed choices about their futures, including higher education. And our mission is that we support, connect and empower our community with the goal that more care experienced young people will be able to access and successfully progress through further higher education and into fulfilling careers. I said earlier that we have regional networks, and those are our practitioners that are working in institutions directly with the young people. So they inform our national strategy group and our board about what is going on the ground and about how we can get involved to support those young people with any of the issues that are arising. And we've recently worked on a project for guarantors for young people in accommodation in higher education. So we're still working on that project with lots of other charities and colleagues in other sectors as well. So as you can see there, that we celebrate and share effective practice. We advocating with policymakers and other sector organisations in HE and FE, commissioning and disseminating research. We also providing our own training and events such as a conference and webinars. We have a resources page on our website, and we have lots of news and newsletters and communications that goes out to our network to keep them updated with what is going on. And we work collaboratively with other charities and sector organisations, which means we can all work together to ensure these young people are fully supported with their journey into higher education. I mentioned earlier that we received some funding from the UPP Foundation for a quality mark. So we launched this in 2021, and it's really in replacement of a previous kite mark that Uttle UK ran that unfortunately didn't continue. So NNECL have stepped in and created a slightly different quality mark. And we look and work with institutions, and it's really a developmental tool for institutions to ensure that they're looking at these 7 areas of their practice that covers the whole student life cycle, and ensures that all young people that are care experienced are supported fully on their journey throughout their entire higher education and time in higher education. So we're looking at pre-entry, the admissions process, student wellbeing, student success, collaboration and partnership, and continuous improvement. We're really looking for evidence-based practice. So we want institutions to be able to show us what they're doing and why they're doing it, and also how they're working with their student body and including the student voice in their work, so that we can ensure that it is informed practice. The quality mark is awarded for a period of 3 years, and we have a midpoint check-in with our institutions to see how they're getting on with their action plan and see if they need any support with any of the practice that they're developing. And NNECL have also, what we're doing is collating a lot of this practice that we're learning about, and we're sharing that with our network through our website, through our communications. And this is enabling other institutions to really start having a look at their practice and seeing where they can develop, and if there's any areas that they're excelling in or any areas that they do need to work on. So hopefully it's informing our network of how they're going to continue with their work. As we said, we had two pilots that ran up till June 2021, and we were able to award all of those institutions with the quality mark, which is great to see. Since then, we've made 21 awards, and all of the institutions that have received award can be found on our website. We currently have 8 institutions going through the submission process, and we are starting to receive more expressions of interest from additional institutions. So you can take a look on our website, the link's there. So I do believe these slides are going to be shared with you after the event. So do go and have a look and see who's gone through it, and have a look at what they're doing that might be able to support you and your young people. So just a few top tips from us. Really, I just want to sort of put out there, it's really worth researching and exploring your options. There's lots of different ways to do this. If you're even thinking about university, you're not sure it's for you, then do get in touch with your local widening participation or outreach teams. They all often have, as we've heard before, and we've got a few more to hear from, about lots of activities where you can go in and get an opportunity to find out about the different types of courses you can do, and really get in there and see if you feel like university is a place for you. There's also a fantastic website run from Become and Propel. Lots of universities have their outreach offer there, and also their offer for students that are going to be going to that university. So it's really worth doing your research. I just wanted to highlight how important it is to really think about the course and location of any institution that you're thinking about going to. There's lots of amazing offers out there that have financial benefits for you. However, if you haven't picked a course or a location that's really suitable for you and somewhere where you feel like you're going to be happy, it could really impact on your success at your time at university. So really make sure you prioritise those over the offers, and the offers can be a benefit for you. As I said, we've got over 90 members now of NNECL, so do keep an eye out and see if you can see the NNECL logo on their websites. That just shows that those universities are really invested in supporting their care experience learners, and it's a really good thing to look out for you to make sure that it's somewhere that's going to think about you and your journey through education while you're there. And obviously the university websites, lots of them have pages on their websites to show their offer for care experienced students. So do go in and have a look at those, see what support there is from there. Don't just look at the financial offers. Do have a look and see what accommodation support they can offer you, and also that holistic support around student services and your career guidance and also your learning guidance. We've heard from Charmaine, but I just wanted to put the link there. It's really worth checking out Student Finance England to have a look and see what you're going to be eligible for if you do go to university. And it's also really worth having a look at what the local authority offer is in your area as well. And sadly, they do vary across the 4 nations, but it's definitely worth taking a look to see what support you're going to get there. Have a look at that alongside your student finance and see roughly how much sort of money you think you're going to have to be able to live on whilst you're at university, and it can really help you make that decision to see that you probably can fund it and be able to survive there. And just finally, final tips, what we're here to talk about today is do ensure you tick that box on the Ucas application. It is vitally important and can really help with your support and getting that support in place before you start university. Thank you, that's all from me.
Thank you so much. Great top tips, especially the last one that unlocks all that support. Thank you so much. And really interesting to hear about your quality kite mark. I'll be looking out for that. We've got 2 more speakers left. Sean, if you could just stop sharing your screen, that would be great. And we're going to move on to Wendy Price now, who is the Head of Widening Access and Participation at the University of Sunderland. So thanks, Wendy.
Thank you, Kate. I'm just in the process of sharing my screen. Oops, didn't want to share that. Sorry, my mouse seems to have completely and utterly disconnected from my PC. I have no idea why, so I'm going to try and do this. Sorry. Right. Can everybody see that okay? Can someone just give me a quick nod to let me
We
know?
can all see that.
Wonderful. Sorry about the technical hitch at the beginning. Thanks very much for inviting me here today. There's been some fantastic advice and tips already, so hopefully I can add to that with my presentation. It's a very short overview today just because we're limited on time, but my contact details are at the end of the presentation, which will be circulated. So please do feel free to get in touch if you have any further questions. So just a quick slide about the University of Sunderland. I'm based in Sunderland in the northeast of England, but we also have campuses in London and Hong Kong. So we're a truly global university, and we're very proud of our widening participation commitment. As part of our strategy as a university, we aim to increase opportunities for people from all different backgrounds. And our support for care experience students was actually established in 2008, and we've developed and improved that, listening to our students and what they needed, and we're currently supporting 97 care experience students. Back in 2008, it was 4 students, so there's been quite a significant increase, and we hope that will continue to grow. We were awarded the NNECL quality mark earlier this year, and we're very proud NNECL members. And it's always great to get recognition for the work that we do, but the recognition that means most to us is that from our students. And this year we have an annual student survey for our care experience students, and 96% of the students that we support rated our support as very good or good. The other 4% rated it fair because they hadn't accessed support, but I can only technically say it was 96% of students that rated us good or very good, which we're very proud of. So in terms of the We Care team, the We Care team are the team at the university that are the direct contact for care experience students. And that support is right from the initial point of inquiry. So if there's any care experienced people listening today, that support can start now, right from the initial inquiry, right through to graduation and beyond graduation. And it's myself and my small team who are that point of contact throughout the entire student journey, right through to application, when you enroll as a student, making sure that when you're at university, you don't just come and have a good time, you come and absolutely thrive and have the best possible experience. And we can support you to do that and to graduate as well. So the next slide I'm going to take a bit of a risk here, and I'd like everyone to send some positive vibes because I'm going to try and share a video, because I know that Eddie and Steph, the 2 students that you can see here, can explain about the support better than I can. So I'm going to try now to get Eddie and Steph. Please keep your fingers crossed. It's a very short video, just less than 2 minutes, and they'll be able to explain about how the We Care team supported them.
Having the We Care team, it adds to my student experience by really reminding me that no matter what, I am a student and I do deserve to be in university.
We're here to provide whatever support you might need whilst you're studying with us. This might include accommodation for 365 days of the year, additional financial support, regular check-ins, or social events where you can meet other students. We're committed to supporting care experienced and estranged students to enter and succeed at higher education, and we're here to support you throughout your student journey, and that support starts right now.
A lot of the time when people think about the term support, they think of like a receptionist at the end of a phone call who gives textbook advice, but that's not really what you get from the We Care team. They provide things like regular check-ins to make sure you're okay with your studies, and it like brings together a community of students who may have been seen as having less than the rest of the students, but it helps them make them feel like a part of something.
The We Care bursary makes a huge difference to me personally. It's a £2,000 bursary as well, so it's beneficial in many ways, such as student finance over the summer from April to September is always such a huge struggle for students. So to have that extra payment really does make a difference on getting over the summer kind of time as well.
I'd probably say normality is a privilege, and it's kind of nice to feel privileged at Sunderland University because of the We Care team.
Like I say, it was one of the best decisions I've made personally, and the opportunities and the progress that I've made whilst being at university has been so beneficial.
If you'd like to find out more, please get in touch and we'll talk you through how to apply.
Great. I'm hoping that I'm now back on the presentation. So you've heard from Eddie and Stephanie. I did say there were students. Actually, Stephanie graduated this summer, so she's a graduate now rather than a student. And I'm delighted to say that she got a first class honours degree. So very, very pleased to say that. So today I've only got time to comment on 2 areas of our support. It is a very brief overview. And what I'd like to touch on is the applicant journey. So those advice that I can give and support that I can give to students who are thinking of applying to university, and what the university can provide throughout that journey, and also looking at peer support and the network of students that we have. So it will be a brief overview. And I'm delighted to support the Fostering Network's Tick the Box campaign, because by doing that, we can start to offer support right at that very early point of contact. If we don't know that a student's care experienced, we can't contact them to offer the support. And we recognise that some people might not need or want support, but the offer is there, and then that way you can make an informed decision about what's best for you. So if you do choose to tick the box, quite soon after applying to the University of Sunderland, you'd get an email from us explaining the support that's on offer. And a couple of weeks later, we follow that up with a phone call just to ask if you have any specific needs. And that might be that you're coming along to an open day, or you'd like an individual tour, and you'd like myself or one of the team to accompany you during that time. It might be that you need help with accommodation, or a disability support referral, or any other aspect of university life. We, myself and my team, will be your named contact throughout that entire journey. We also provide support for any foster carers, teachers, local authority staff and virtual schools, but we would not share anything about personal circumstances without support from the student. And again, as an applicant, we provide regular touch points. So we'll be in touch with you just before the A-level and BTEC results come out, just to check in, to wish you well with your results. And then once we have the results, we'll get in touch again just to check whether you need any help moving into university, whether you want us to meet you, to show you around, or anything else that you might have in terms of support needs. So a few of the things that we can offer, for applicants, we have access to a £2,000 We Care bursary every year. Several universities will offer an additional scholarship or bursary for anyone who's care experienced. So please do make sure that you ask, because some of them might have a deadline where you have to apply. Ours doesn't, but just to be aware that that's something you should look into, because that's extra money that you don't need to pay back. We can guarantee accommodation 365 days of the year, and also provide fast track referrals to any other support services at the university. And as I said, we've based this support on what students have told us in the past works well for them, but we do understand everyone's an individual, and this support really is based on individual needs. So some students I might see once a term, others I send them a WhatsApp every Monday morning, and I check in with them in person every couple of weeks. It really is based on whatever works well for you. And that practical support in terms of transition to university, we have students who are just moving into us now. We help unload the boxes, we help them move in, whatever it might take, as well as practical support and regular catch-up meetings as well. So very briefly, in terms of student peer support, we have a network, as I said, of almost 100 care experienced students. We have a WhatsApp group with about 40 students as members, and a Facebook group with over 100 students and graduates in there as well. We've tried for many, many years to build up a network of student support, recognising the benefits that that can bring. I remember one student a few years ago said to me that they felt like sometimes they were the only care experienced person on campus. And that's what got me thinking, actually, you're not, that there are many more. And although everyone's circumstances are different, some of the challenges, barriers, and some of the benefits of university can be shared to bring together that network. So we have a whole host of events throughout the year, everything from Christmas pantos to we're doing crazy golf and bowling in a couple of weeks and going out to a restaurant. Student ambassadors are guaranteed, care experienced students are guaranteed an interview as a student ambassador, as well as providing a regular income. We recognise some of the benefits that that can bring in terms of meeting other students. And some of our students also support organisations like NNECL and like the Fostering Network to speak at conferences like this. And Cultural Spring is a local arts organisation that we actually had in to do some metal embossing, which went down really well with our students as well. So apologies, it's been a very brief overview today. If anyone does have any questions, I'd be delighted to answer them. Feel free to contact me, and I wish you all the best for the future. Thank you.
Wendy, thank you so much, and I'm really glad you got that video working, because it was great. It brings it all to life. So last but not least, we're going to hear from Nina, who is going to talk to us about the LEAP programme at Inverness College, University of Highlands and Islands. Thanks, Nina.
Hi there, a big thank you for having me along today. It's been awesome listening to what's happening across the wider UK. So learning lots and hopefully making lots of really strong contacts as we go. So yeah, my name's Nina Gatz, and as I've just been introduced, I work across up in the Highlands and Islands. We're a tertiary institution, so we provide FE and HE provision courses, programmes, across many other academic partners. So I'm going to share with you my PowerPoint. Hopefully I'll just get that up, just bear with me. Okay, and hopefully today I'm just going to set the tone a little. You'll hear that I'm not Scottish. I've been up here about 10 years, learning an awful lot as I go. But I suppose one of the other strings to my bow is that I myself am care experienced. So like everybody else that is here today, I'm really passionate about this for obvious reasons. So my role is a lecturer at UHI. I work across many different programmes. However, last year we did run a pilot study and start off a really new and exciting programme specifically aimed at care experienced individuals. So I'd like to share with you sort of that journey today, and along the way to talk about some of the provision and what we've based that upon. So I'm just going to share my slide so we've got a full screen. So hopefully you're all seeing that now. So our programme is called the Leap Ahead. And as the first slide shows, we're looking that students are not only making that leap academically, but we're looking at those, the bigger picture there, the health and wellbeing needs of our students. So I'll provide some insight into that. And I want to just set the tone a little bit here in Scotland about the rationale behind this, and just really reinforce what many of the other speakers have said about the best ways that we're supporting students and the key need that's out there. Lots of successes, we've encountered challenges along the way, but that's part of the learning journey. So we'll focus on that as we go through. So the national picture in Scotland is very much like I've been hearing today across the other 4 countries, that, you know, the key message that we're getting from students and the key research is telling us that being a student is daunting enough, but having that care experience package as well just adds to that tenfold. So we're really looking at what we can do to make that transition and have that support in place right from the very beginning for these students. So the key things that emerge from much of the research that we're engaging with is that it's the relationships that these students need. For many students, and just thinking with the student I was with yesterday, care experience student, quite often they don't have anybody, as we well know. So it's really, really important that from the very beginning, we're establishing those really solid relationships with these individuals. It's about understanding that these students that are coming to us have very complex life challenges, some that we can't even begin to imagine. So it's really about making staff and wider participants aware of these challenges. I certainly, lecturing for the last 10 years or so, I certainly thought I had a good grasp on things, but I had quite a rude awakening this last year working with the LEAP programme that I didn't know, you know, an awful lot of things. So it was a really good slap in the face for me, so to speak, in that it's about understanding the complexity that, you know, many of these students are facing on a day-to-day basis. It's also about understanding the need for things like financial and emotional support. You know, these students are coming in needing, you know, some guidance on finances and being able to seek support and advice. And we've heard a lot about that today, that we're now getting really good at tapping into that before students are coming into the programmes. One of the key things that was really resonated with the early student experience survey that we conducted was that it was the in-house structures. And this is what is being said nationally across Scotland, that it's the bureaucratic nonsense that we're quite often giving to students that's really deterring them from coming to further and higher education. The national picture is much like what we've heard today across Scotland, in that care experienced students, we know that they have much poorer employment outcomes, and we've got a very wide attainment gap. So we know that 44% of students are leaving school with 1 National 5, which is equivalent to GCSE or standard grades that we used to have here in Scotland, compared to that bigger picture nationally. So it's very low, the outcomes. So it's looking at what we can do, and these statistics are really alarming. These are the things that we need to focus upon. We know it's not just about qualifications for students, but we know that these are important when we're looking at things like positive destinations. So looking at other figures, I'm just referring to my notes here because I'll never remember them all. But we know, for instance, that 12% of our care experience students are leaving with highers, so again equivalent to the English A-level system. And that's compared to 62%. So there's a massive attainment gap there. We also know that 76% of our care leavers are moving on to positive destinations after 9 months after leaving school, compared to that 93%. So again, the statistics speak for themselves. So we've looked very much at this national picture. We've looked very much at the research, and looking at research that was conducted by the colleges and the wider national frameworks. We know that students are needing the help with applications. So it's right from, as Wendy Price just highlighted, it's looking at these students need help, to get online quite often. They'll start online, start with the application, and it becomes too much. Some of them can't even get online, to access the application. So it's about help from the very beginning. It's making sure that those transitions are really well supported. And it's also recognising that care experience students are the group that are vulnerable anyway without any additional challenges. But we know that, for instance, if you have a disability or additional support need, some sort of learning need, then that's when students are feeling particularly unsupported. We know across Scotland that 45% of our students are facing difficulties with accommodation. And again, we've heard that quite often that's because it's not offered 365 days a year. It's offered term time, for instance. Working with students last year really highlighted that often student accommodation, the noises in that are often that catalyst as well for some of those previous trauma that students have experienced. So it's been really aware of some of these challenges. Across Scotland, we also have the corporate parenting responsibility. We have obviously the Children and Peoples Act of 2014, and that, like all the other nations, means that we are working collaboratively together with other partners to ensure that care experience students are given, the most optimum support that they can be given, and that's our key role here. SAS payments. So again, like all of the other nations, we have bursaries that are paid to students from a care experience background. And again, that's something that we need to make sure that students are aware of what they're entitled to and what their finances will look like. That's a big deal for students if you're living on your own, or even if you're not on your own and you need to know how to make ends meet. So that's our, these were our key drivers, if you like, for developing a programme. So we've been working for many years, UHI Inverness, with the Highland Council, so our local council here. And we've been looking at many of these research findings and really talking about lots of key discussions that have been going on for a few years, I might add, to make sure that we've got the funding in place and we've got the correct support in place for students. And this was our vision, to actually turn all of these statistics that we just talked about on their head. We want to improve outcomes for all learners, but particularly for our more vulnerable groups and members of society. So we focused upon developing a programme that would motivate and engage care experience. So it is aimed specifically at care experience groups, but to give them the knowledge and skills that they could use in lifelong learning, to give them meaningful skills. So not just focusing on academics, but making sure that they are equipped with that confidence. And that was one of the key things, the confidence and the self-belief that they can go on and study at FE and HE levels. So we thought very carefully about the selection process. We had, for instance, we did many interviews online when students requested that. We didn't make them turn cameras on. You know, we were very conscious that for many of these students, it was the little subtle things. You know, if you're in student accommodation and, you know, you've not got much in the way of a decent room as such, you know, or you're in your pajamas, you know, you've slept in the morning. We didn't want people to feel, you know, that would be a setback for them. So we relied heavily on our Highland Council partnership to get the message out there about the programme that we were developing and to direct students to us. So that was great. We had lots of names before we started, lots of interest was generated. The key messages from the selection process were that for many of these students, they had just given up hope. They'd disengaged with school perhaps at an early age. They'd given up the thought that they could achieve, that they could ever come to college. Some of those interviews for me were really quite heart-wrenching. So, you know, we know that there's massive amounts of work to be done there to engage these learners. We decided as well at the interview that we would talk to the students about what they wanted the programme to look like. We already had a model in mind, and we underpinned it with the socio-constructivist theory, in that we wanted students to be deciding on what would be, you know, some key aspects that would be embedded. And the messages from that came through that they wanted this help with lifelong learning. They wanted help with simple tasks such as how to cook, how to manage finances, but also some specific areas of interest. So they were then, we took all of those ideas away and we started developing the curriculum.
Sorry to interrupt, Nina. We're running out of time. Can I?
Okay, that's fine. I'll speed up, and we're nearly at the end, so we won't. We're not far long. So our curriculum focused on all of these aspects, and in particular, many aspects of mental health that students also requested. We gave lots of taster sessions for them. We had hair and beauty. We had trips out to the beach. We had car mechanics, giving them a taste of what was to come. The other key thing was in the curriculum that we used part of a soft start session. So we let students come in later. You know, it was a 10 o'clock start, but we'd sit and have coffee together, and that was the most valuable time with the students. Many challenges, as I've just I'll skip through, highlighted here. Many challenges with the use of mobile phones. So if any of you students are here today listening and can, you know, relate to that, it was also remembering, I had to remind myself that for many of these learners, that's all the contact they'd had, particularly during COVID. So that was a gradual decrease, you know, reliance upon them. So it's really about responding to the student needs, and the key message here was that we had that dedicated team approach, that from beginning, before even applying, and then right through to the end of the journey, that they were supported, that they had a professional development advisor that would respond to their every needs. Just to finish off then, I know we're running out of time, but 9 out of our 10 students that came onto the programme, they've now gone on to positive destinations, and I can't say the delight that I feel just see them around the campus. They've gone on to further programmes, and a discussion I had yesterday with a student was, with a lecturer actually, was that the students in her class that are progressing, you know, the best are actually the LEAP students from last year. So absolutely delighted. This was just a course evaluation sheet that I got the students to complete at the end of the year. Absolutely delighted at their journey, and looking at now what next, looking at what we can do, responding to that student voice, and collaborating. There's been lots of interest from wider parties about what we can do to replicate this. So yeah, absolutely delighted. So thank you for allowing me to share that today.
Thank you, Nina, and sorry to hurry you. There's so much to get through. Thanks so much for that. My colleagues here have been answering your questions as we've been going along for the last hour and a half. So hopefully lots of you have got those answers. We can hang on for another 5 minutes if everyone is happy to just answer some questions live, but I understand if people have to go because we are at 12 o'clock now. For those that do have to go dead on 12 and can't hang on 5 minutes, we will send you all the presentations, and we will also send you a summary of the questions. And please follow our campaign on Twitter. I think we put the Twitter details in the chat box. So I'm going to quickly move on. We've got a couple of questions here that haven't been answered. The first is there any collated information on the institutions providing the most generous support for care experienced young people? As some young people in England may be care experienced, but not meet the definitions of being a care leaver or qualifying care leaver. And I'm going to ask Sian to answer that, please, if that's okay.
Have to answer. Sorry, I think Sian's had some technical issues, so we might have to throw it to someone else, I'm afraid.
Who would like to? Wendy, I'm going to ask Wendy.
Hi, it does differ in terms of what's offered, but lots of universities now are adopting the wider definition of care experience. My advice would be to check the Propel website, which is from the charity Become. That's a fantastic resource. And also the NNECL website have information there based on the NNECL members. There's also a good practice guide you can get as well. So between Propel and NNECL, that will give a really good indication of the national support available.
Brilliant, and we'll put those links in, or they are anyway in the presentations, but we'll make sure you've got those links. Second question is, what happens if a young person in foster care does not have a passport? Does this mean they can't apply for student finance? So that's for Charmaine.
No, it doesn't mean that they can't. They'll have a birth certificate, and if they don't know where that is, they can speak to their PA or social worker who can get a copy for them, and they can then upload that birth certificate, and that can then be sent to us, so we can accept that.
Brilliant, thank you. Very, very quick answer, that's brilliant. Third question, what is the situation regarding postgraduate applications? Where do we find that information? So I think, have we still got Nicola? We have, yes.
Hi there, yes. Ucas doesn't usually process postgraduate applications generally anymore. Usually they are dealt with directly to the university. We do some postgraduate courses, and I know somebody did ask about teacher training and PGCE. We manage the courses to Wales and Scottish universities who offer those teacher training opportunities, but not in England anymore. So that will be through the Department for Education. But anything that you do apply to through Ucas, I should add, does give you the chance to share your circumstances.
Thank you. Thanks, Nicola. And finally, is there any specific support for care experienced young people during the holidays? I know some of our speakers have talked about this today. And so that's if they can no longer go back to their foster carers' home. But Wendy, would you be able to take that one?
Yes, every university, I would imagine, will have something. Here at the University of Sunderland, we have a lot of students that do decide to stay on campus throughout the entire year. So they might be living in halls of residence during Christmas or Easter breaks. We have a wide variety through our Students' Union of different events and activities that students can tap into if they want to do that. But also lots of students get to know each other and know who's staying around during that period. So yes, I'm confident that every university would have something, whether it's delivered by the university themselves or the student union might differ depending on the institution, but there's plenty to be getting on with it. Certainly there's not a quiet time during the holidays.
That's great, and Lena and Paul and Nina all nodding their heads, so I'm thinking that's a shared answer there. Thank you so much to all our speakers today. I've learned so much, and I think the thing that's really taught me is that by ticking the box, it opens up a wealth of very individually tailored support for the individuals. So I think it's really, really great information. We will share all the presentations with you as well as on our website. Thank you to all of those who have joined us today on the webinar. And sorry, we've gone 5 minutes over. My last thanks goes to Eve. I've been plunged into darkness in our timer. My last thanks goes to Eve Hatcher, who's in our policy and campaigns team, who's been working over the last few weeks and months to pull all of this together and get everyone in this room. So thank you so much, Eve. And Lena, did you were you waving for a last word?
I was just doing a round of applause for Eve.
Thanks very much, everyone.
Very well deserved. It's been really fascinating, and please follow our campaign. The Twitter link is in the chat or the Q&A. I've lost track of where it is, but we will send that around as well. And thank you so much, and have a lovely rest of the day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.